Please, if you can see if you can see my slide, can you quickly confirm that you can see my slide? Just confirm to me that you can see my slide.
Yes, we can see your slides. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're talking about unlocking the power of public speaking for educators. Now, I'll quickly give you my story so that you understand the background that I'm coming from. One of the things that actually attracted me a long while ago, as far as education was concerned, is that I went to a secondary school where we took public speaking seriously. We used to do a weekly program in my school called Community Gathering. And at the community gathering, external speakers were invited to our school on a weekly basis, mostly Sunday mornings, because we didn't go to church in my school. My founder didn't believe in God and didn't believe in church or any religion for that matter. So we were compelled to gather on Sunday mornings for something they called community gathering. And they would bring speakers who would come and address us on various life issues, including academic progress and how to do better with whatever it is that you have chosen to do. Sometimes they focus on the most senior students who are about to get out of school and tell them what to do. And at other times, they will say something about how every student could do better in school. Now, I watched this thing for 6 solid years because I was in the boarding house from GSS 1 to SS3. The more important part for me as a student is that my school also encouraged public speaking for students. So when you become a prefect, public speaking is part of your life. In SS1 going to SS2, the last time of SS1 going to SS2, I don't know, I think you guys are changing it to basic now or year something. I don't know if they've changed it across all schools, but you know what I mean by SS1 going to SS2. So you can contest for some positions because some positions you hold them while you're in SS2, some other positions you hold them while you're in SS3. One of such positions was what they call the lost property prefect. Very funny role. Now, what's the role of this lost property prefect in my school? What you had to do was to take custody of every lost item that was found. They will bring it to you. So you would then be the one to go to the stage and make a public announcement. Now, when I say going to the stage and making a public announcement, I'm not talking about you making an announcement all by yourself. I'm talking about you standing in front of the over 4,000 students. Yes, 4,000 students, actually more than 4,000 students that were in my school at the time. And you were the one speaking in front of them. Of course, I've had the opportunity to speak in public before that time, but being the prefect in charge of lost property items now gave me the challenge of standing in front of over 4,000 students, announcing the lost items and asking students to come and identify themselves and prove their ownership of those items. Then the following year, I gave it a shot to become the senior prefect of my school. And I did win that election. Yes, we do election in my school. You buy nomination form. After buying nomination form, you fill out it. Through training, you appear before a panel of teachers, the most disciplined teachers in the school. They will look at your file. Yes, your registration file in school. If you had committed a crime 4 or 5 years ago, it doesn't matter how long it was, they bring it out of your file. If it's a grievous one, they show you that offense, and because of that, you are disqualified. But if you didn't commit any offense, it was great. Please follow me. I'm telling a story for something very important. At the end of the day, after I was screened and allowed to contest, the next thing you would do is to campaign. You go from GS1 to SS3 campaigning. And of course, with a school that has over 4,000 students, you can imagine how many streams or how many classes we had for GS1 alone, GS2, GS3, SS1, SS2, SS3. And you have to go around, cover all those classes, campaigning to all of them. So you can imagine that your public speaking had to be top notch. And every evening, every morning, you would also have to stand in front of them. So let's say that for a whole year, I addressed more than 4,000 students at least twice a day. If you look at the number of years in you have maybe number of calendar days you have in a school year, multiply it by two. That's the number of years, or that's the number of times I stood in front of over 4,000 students speaking to them. But what gave me more courage, inspiration, and confidence? It was what we used to do called community gathering. Now, by extension, I developed some real love for public speaking. Why was this very important? There were some moments I did not remember from our classes, but each time somebody came for the community gathering and spoke extremely well, it was something that stuck with me more than what the teachers were saying to us in the classrooms. So that's your first evidence that public speaking is something that you need as an educator, and you definitely cannot joke with it. And because of that, I immediately began to identify with some of those speakers. And I can tell you confidently today, it's one of the reasons I quickly identified my gift and my calling in life. In fact, let's just say it's the reason I discovered my purpose very early in life. They were just speaking to us on a weekly basis, had no idea how much impact it had on us. But as I was listening, I realized that this is something that is very impactful for me. And definitely, I said to myself, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So my channel, I found my path in life early on because of something that my school was doing, and they thought that they were just speaking to us. So if you're doing this in your school, you are not just speaking to the students, you are shaping their lives, you're shaping their destiny, you're shaping their future. Now let me also tell you some of the other things they do after these people do their speeches, or after prefects deliver their speeches. The moment you get to SS3 in my school, it is compulsory for every SS3 student in my school to deliver a speech before you graduate. You heard that right. It is compulsory for every SS3 student in my school to stand in front of the over 4,000 students and deliver a speech. So there's always a schedule, there's a roster, and when it gets to your turn, you'll be informed. You go to your English teacher, you suggest your topics, you tell him what you want to say, and then make your point, and you will go on stage. Of course, we see all kinds. Some people got on stage blanked out. Some people got on stage, entertained us. Some other people got on stage, said something that became controversial. It was all kinds, but for the most part, they were preparing us for a life of public speaking. Meaning that if you went through my school, it was almost impossible to go through that school successfully and not be ready for a life of public speaking, especially if you took it seriously. So it wasn't just the teachers that were talking to us. In fact, some teachers never got on stage, but the teachers were talking to us. The students were also talking to us. And the part that students enjoy the most from my own part, or from my own side, is that on Sundays, after those series of speeches, when the public speakers from outside the school were done, they would then ask me, as the senior prefect, to give a vote of thanks. So, in addition to whatever I said before, I now had a chance to deliver another speech. But this time around, it was just the vote of thanks. And I had a unique way of delivering the vote of thanks and psyching up. There's a way you just pump the speaker, even if the speaker's speech wasn't that good. You say it in such a way that the speaker would think that his speech was good. And trust me, and trust students too. Somewhere along the line, the vote of thanks was more interesting than the speech itself. So much so that one day, the school manager had sent me to go do something, and I didn't return in time to deliver the vote of thanks. So the school manager called somebody else to deliver the vote of thanks, and the whole assembly said, "No, senior prefect, SP boy, we must wait for him." And I mean, it was something else. They insisted that it must be this person who must come on stage and deliver the vote of thanks. So you need to understand, just like public speaking shaped a part of my life and destiny from what happened to me in secondary school. Public speaking shapes education for the people that you're trying to train or teach, and it shapes your own perception as a school owner, manager, or even administrator. So that's very important. And I hope that that story has cleared your doubt, even if you have any doubt. Now, what are the things you need to pay attention to? It's important to ask ourselves what we're doing. Now, we're going to talk about public speaking as public speaking is not just about delivering information. is much more than information. Now, I believe that when they were doing it in my school, they must have thought, oh, this is what we're doing and all of that. And they probably didn't see how much they were doing or how it impacted other people. But from my story now, you know that it's much more than information. And you, the educators here, have the power to inspire and transform lives. I'm also going to tell you another story somewhere along the line. I hope that I get to it and you also remember it. Then this session explores how to harness public speaking skills to engage and inspire. Emphasis, engage and inspire. So there are two categories of people in your audience that you're going to be engaging. First is the parents who are the stakeholders. And then the second would be your students, who are the people that you are transferring the knowledge to. You must engage both the parents and the students, but more importantly, you must inspire the student. I'm sure you know that many people will not see your works or many people will not know what you're doing, but whatever the students do outside of school will become a reflection of what you are doing within the school. So the way you inspire the students, they will take it out there. And when the people see the students talking in a certain way, saying certain things, they know that definitely there's somebody who is training this child. There's somebody who is doing something to this boy. And I hope that you can use public speaking to achieve some of that. The next thing is why public speaking matters for you. Public speaking builds credibility. One of the things that I wanted to tell you today is that many of you think that because you're good, people are going to come to you. Please, if you have always had that notion that just because you're good, you're sound, you know what you're doing, you teach well, and people are going to come to you or bring their words to you, you are a joker. Capital letter Joker. You're a joker. One of my coaches, who has passed on now, said to me, you need to understand that success in life is 15% skills and 85% marketing. 15% skills and 85% marketing. Now, what that tells you is that quite a number of people are skillful, but they are not visible. If you're skillful but not visible, people are not going to know what you're capable of. But you see, the people who are half as skilled as you are, or not even as skilled as you are, they're going to be more visible. People are going to go to their school. People are going to engage their services. They get more people to come to their virtual classes or their tutorials, their coaching, whatever it is they're doing. Visibility wins over skills most times. It is only at a certain level where, if you combine visibility and skills, that what you're doing becomes sustainable and people naturally comes to you. Go and check anybody who is out there today. See what they're doing. Tell me which one of them is not visible enough to attract the kind of clients that they want. Go and check all the big educators, all the big schools today. One major thing that they're doing is visibility, either using the regular media, that is the mainstream media, using social media, or even using some individual platforms that they have. So you need to build credibility through public speaking. And one of the ways you do build credibility through public speaking is, you see, people make short videos on the internet today. They don't talk directly about their businesses. They come online, they seem to be addressing the issues, the rots, the corruption, the challenges in the educational sector. But at the bottom strip of the video, they put it there, the educators, or put the website of the school, or put, when you address critical issues that connect with people like that without necessarily advertising your school, what do you think people will say in the comment section? Or at the end of the day, what do you think people will do? People would say, if this person knows this kind of thing, then that's the person I want to train or to raise my children. So you need to bear that in mind. So it helps simplify complex ideas for students. So as a teacher, as an educator, your public speaking skill will always be more important than your knowledge of the subject matter. This is where I remind you of something that the school principal of my school at the time used to say to us. She was delivering a speech and she says, oh, my speeches aren't that long. They're just 17 pages short. And trust me, when my principal tells you that her speech is 17 pages short, we're not talking of 17 pages or 16 points or 16 font size. We're talking 17 pages and the font size are probably as small as 12 or 10. So it's that long, but she says it's just 17 pages short. But here's the real story. She tells you, if you must teach John Latin, you must know John and you must know Latin. What does she mean by if you must teach John Latin, you must know John and you must know Latin? After all, somebody would expect that what you really need to be able to teach John how to speak Latin is the knowledge of Latin. And you should be able to teach any student how to speak Latin. But here's the problem. If you don't understand the psychological makeup of John, you would not realize that John possibly has a short attention span, or John is probably visually stimulated. These days we have quite a number of visual aids. So if you're teaching John and you're talking, no matter how much you talk, if you don't use aids, John does not know what you're talking about. But the moment you start using visual aids, John grabs it, he lightens up. It's like a light bulb moment for John because he's now seeing what you're talking about. And there are some other people too. If you tell them stories, they remember it. It makes it easier for them. So public speaking comes in that area. It's not just to stand in front of them, teach them what the curriculum says, teach them each module. You can run through the module and still not make sense. Which is why when I teach in adult classes, I first of all do what I call audience analysis or a demography of the audience and try to use anecdotes, stories, things that connect with the audience so that I laugh a bit, we talk about the real thing, then come back and throw a little joke here and there. At the end of the day, everybody understands. I'll give you an example of my two children or two of my children. The first one, female, not out there, is not all outgoing, doesn't talk all the time, seems a bit more serious with her academics and all of that, and gets some good grades. The second one seems a little unserious, a bit chatty, talks a lot, always restless, wants to do this, wants to do that, always asking, and is one that is speaking for the whole house, daddy buy this, daddy buy that. But guess what? Sometimes you think he's not paying attention to something. So we're driving one day and he was in the car with my wife and I. And all of a sudden, he starts singing various commercial songs that we've heard and seen on television. And he sings the commercial songs that are quite lengthy and not easy to learn from most adults from the beginning to the end. I didn't even know the words of those commercial songs, but he sang them. Sometimes he starts singing a song, and the next thing my wife is asking, "Ìgbà wo lo tún sáré gbọ́ yẹn? When did you start listening to it? That you already, he hears a song for the first time, he already mastered the tune, and sometimes he already knows what he's talking about. So your skill as a good teacher combined with public speaking tells you you need to adapt various teaching methods to communicate or to pass the knowledge across for your students so you don't make it complex at all. I hope you're still with me and I hope you're making sense. If this makes sense to you, please type in the chat room for me. Makes sense, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. I'd like to quickly see your reaction before I go on. Just type in the chat room, makes sense, so I can see that you are still there. Does this make sense? I'm looking forward to your chats. Just tell me, okay, thank you. I can see what you're typing. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. I can see only two people saying makes sense. How about the remaining 12 people? Does it mean that it doesn't make sense to you? Okay, more people are coming in. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you. All right, so I'll go on since I can see that it makes sense to you. Now, it inspires curiosity and motivation to learn. So you really need to be a good speaker. Now, some of you know, just think about when you were in secondary school. Think about your best teachers. Think about the teachers you remember the most. You would realize that it wasn't just the knowledge of the subject that made the difference. What made the difference for some of the teachers that you remember the most was how they carried themselves and how they delivered the topics, which is public speaking. They told stories. I remember one of our teachers, then Dr. Mrs. E. Ogunsanya, and she wrote quite a number of books, prose, drama, poetry. Every time she was teaching us, she would create acronyms and convert those teaching aids into songs. So she would do that, she would sing, we would dance, and at the end of the day, nobody would forget anything that she was teaching us. And of course, if I may quickly add, one of the ways I won my election, which I referred to earlier, was creating songs around my campaign that I personally composed, dancing in front of GSS1 students, GSS2, GSS3 students. And here was I, somebody who was already in SS2, going to SS3 the following term. But I had to put all of that aside, create songs and dance before them. And guess what? I won by a landslide victory. How did I win? Speaking in public, dancing, and helping them. So it engages on it enhances classroom engagement. So people look forward to your class. I'm currently on the faculty of a training school, which is for a bank. And guess what? When I finish my training sessions with quite a number of these students, these are graduates. Some of them have master's degree already. And the next thing they are saying to me after my class is, "Oh, are you coming back to our class? When will you be coming back again?" Then unfortunately, I have to break their hearts and say, "I'm sorry, I may not be coming back to your class until your stream ends because most times I only get one class per stream. I mean, I only have one session for each class. So I may never come to your class again except something happens, another facilitator says, come and stand in for me. But I've seen them come back to me again and again saying, please, can you come back to our class? We love the way you delivered. We love the way you taught us. So sometimes knowing the subject matter is not enough. Delivering effectively as a great public speaker makes the subject matter stick with the students. So, what are the skills you must master? I can see that my time is up. Please, if you permit me to just take maybe about extra minutes, I will wrap up. I don't want to keep you too long beyond your time. So, the first thing is master your voice control and clarity. I say this repeatedly. There are quite a number of people who do not have international passport, yet they have international accent. And I'm asking myself, where did they pick up the accent from? Some people erroneously believe that if you speak a certain way, then you can bamboozle the people, get them to believe that you are international. And it reminds me of one of my friends. Apologies, this isn't about the female gender, but it unfortunately happened to a lady. She was walking on the streets one day and all of a sudden struck her foot against a stone and she shouted, "Yay, Mogbeo!" Then she realized that people were watching and then she said, "Oh, sorry, I mean, ouch." So you don't need to pretend, you just need to be yourself. The most important thing in speaking is clarity. That is the first and the most important thing. If you have tonal languages, if you have accents, maybe tribal or ethnic accents, I would wish that you work on it and you're able to get rid of it. However, while you're working on that, your clarity is far more important than how British or American your accent sounds. I don't want to hear you saying shush. I don't want to hear you saying cushion share. However, before you're able to get rid of all those issues, the most important thing is clarity. So work on your voice control, work on your breath control, work on clarity. It's not a joke to be able to speak, stand in front of people, speaking for like 6, 7 hours on a daily basis. It's not a joke. I do it. So I know the kind of sacrifices that you have to make. Some of you don't even, of course, you don't speak the whole day at a stretch, except in some schools where you are the one teaching various subjects or you are the class teacher and you're expected to teach all the subject for the day. So work on that. Then body language and presence, they are very important. You can communicate confidence by the way you carry yourself to the students, and you can build their confidence just by how you carry yourself. Sometimes you don't need to teach the students self-confidence. You just carry yourself in a certain way, and before you know it, all other students are beginning to watch you and they're doing exactly what you're doing. So carry yourself in such a manner that they really believe in you. Don't talk like you don't even believe in yourself. You're a teacher, you're an educator, you're a role model. The moment you stand in front of people to talk to them, you are a role model. And you must carry yourself with some grace that people want to emulate. That's very important. Now, improve on your storytelling skills. Imagine some of the things I've shared with you. These are things I've heard years ago. They've stuck with me. I've never forgotten them, but they came a long time ago. Now, that's due to the storytelling skills of the people who shared those stories those years back. And I'm still using some of those analogies and illustrations today. So, work on your storytelling skills in such a manner that the story is short, straight to the point, and relevant. You want to tell a joke. Sometimes you can tell a story to deliver a joke. You want to make a point. Sometimes you can tell a story to prove the point. But don't come with an extremely long story such that somewhere along the line you've lost the essence of the story. And by the time you finish telling the story, you've forgotten the point you wanted to make. To which led you to telling the story in the first place. Have you heard some people start telling a story and somewhere along the line they themselves are lost? So you're wondering, what's he trying to say? Where is he going to? But you see, the person telling us the story is also lost. So all of us are confused together. We don't want a collaborative confusion. So if you don't know the story, stick with something that is quite small, straight to the point, and helps you deliver. Then active listening is important because you are not the one talking. You need to talk to people. And I say to people sometimes, you need to understand. Sometimes when people are talking to you, it's not just what they are saying that is important. Sometimes it's what they are not saying that is also important. And in some cases, it is how they said what they said that is more important than what they said. I hope I have not confused you. Number one, I said sometimes it's what they are not saying. Number two, it's how they said it. So pay attention to that. Then work on your confidence and authenticity. That links back to what I said earlier. You don't need a foreign accent. You don't need to sound funny. You don't need to look somehow just before you are actually able to deliver. I see my time is up. The moderator has come back with our video, so that's my cue to say your time is up. Get out of here. So please let me rush through. I think I've said quite a number of things. You already know that you will inspire people. You make the lessons are more memorable. Share personal experiences. Use storytelling to motivate and inspire. Let me now go back to how it affects even the marketing of your school. If two people are talking about their schools, public speaking plays a key role. Guess what? People will listen to the person who does a powerful storytelling about how their school impacts the children compared to somebody who does the actual job. The person who knows how to tell the story for how their school impacts the children will convince parents, and parents will go to them. But the person who does a better job in the school premises but does not know how to communicate the story will keep losing students. So, speaking is important for you as far as marketing your work, marketing your skills, marketing your educational courses and programs are concerned. So, please pay attention to what you say and how you say it. And guess what? The way you talk determines your target audience. Sometimes it's not even the quality or the class of your school. You can actually, and some of you are focusing on numbers instead of focusing on quality. Do you know that you can talk in a certain way and stop charging 25,000 naira for tutorials? You can talk in a certain way and go from 25,000 to 250,000. So when you go from 25,000 to 250,000, because of the way you talk, you stop chasing numbers. Is it not better for you to have five students who can pay 250,000 than to run around 50 students who are paying you 25,000? Which one will give you headache? Is it five students paying you 25,000 or sorry, is it students paying you 250,000 or 25 to 50 students paying you 25,000 naira? Of course, it's the ones paying less that will give you more headache. They are the ones that will almost take your life. But you see, the ones that pay less, they pay premium and they give you peace of mind. And your premium, I mean, your peace of mind is also premium. So you need to up your game so that you can get the people that are willing to pay premium. If you don't up your game, you continue to struggle with the people who are also struggling to pay. If you don't up your game, you continue to struggle with the people who are struggling to pay. But when you up your game, you switch from those who are struggling to pay and start delivering services to those who are willing to pay premium. Then you have peace of mind. With that, let me say, as we say in debates, with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince and not to convince you that as educators, you really need public speaking. You shouldn't take it for granted and you need to up your game if it is not something you already engage and do excellently well. Thank you very much. That's the time that I have. Please drop your questions for me in the chat room.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Mr. Fola. That was absolutely fantastic. And I know you could go on and on even for the next 2, 3 hours and you will be tired.